The stars twinkled against the endless black of space. Among them, a small research ship named Eternal Scholar moved slowly toward something strange floating in the darkness. The ship belonged to the Galactic Preservation Society, a group that searched for old things left by extinct civilizations. Taeho Kim stood on the bridge of the Eternal Scholar, his four eyes wide with excitement. As head archaeologist, he had spent his life finding and studying ancient objects, but he had never seen anything like this. "Magnify the image," he told the ship's pilot. The screen in front of them zoomed in on a massive metal structure. It was huge, over 3 kilometers long, with a shape that reminded Taeho of the predatory sea creatures from his home world. The front was pointed like a spear, while the back had large round openings. Along its sides, Taeho could see what looked like weapon ports now dark and silent. "It's beautiful," he whispered. Jiwoo Park, his assistant, nodded in agreement. Unlike Taeho, whose skin was blue-gray, Jiwoo had green scales that shimmered under the bridge lights. She tapped on her datapad, reviewing the information their scanners had collected. "The metal is unlike any we have in our database," she said. "And look at these energy readings, very faint but still there after all this time." From across the bridge, senior engineer Do-hyun Choi made a sound of disbelief. His twin antennae twitched, showing his skepticism. "Impossible," Do-hyun said. "Our initial scans suggest this artifact is at least 50,000 years old. Nothing could still have power after so long." "The facts are the facts," Jiwoo replied, showing him her screen. "Something inside is still running, even if barely." Taeho felt his heart rates increase. This was exactly why he had joined the society. To find mysteries like this one. "Prepare a boarding team," he ordered. "I want our best people ready in 1 hour." The meeting room was crowded with the 8 specialists Taeho had selected for the mission. They sat around a large table, looking at a hologram of the mysterious ship floating above them. "We're calling it Artifact XJ7291 for now," Taeho explained. "It appears to be a warship from a highly advanced civilization. If we're right about its age, the people who built it were exploring the stars when our ancestors were still learning to make fire." Minji Lee, the team's xenoculture specialist, raised her hand. Her pink skin flushed darker with excitement. "Have we identified the species who built it?" she asked. "No," Taeho admitted. "There's nothing in our records that matches this design. That's what makes this find so important. We may have discovered evidence of a completely unknown civilization." Hyunwoo Song, the communications expert, looked troubled. His yellow eyes narrowed. "If they were so advanced, what happened to them?" he asked. "A species capable of building a warship this size should have left more traces in the galaxy." It was a good question, and one that had been bothering Taeho as well. "That's what we're going to find out," he replied. 6 hours later, the Eternal Scholar hovered near the massive ancient ship. The boarding team, dressed in protective environmental suits, gathered in the airlock. Each suit was equipped with air filters, temperature controls, and shields against radiation or harmful microbes. Taeho checked everyone's equipment one final time. "Remember the protocol," he said. "We observe and document first. Touch nothing until the engineers confirm it's safe. We don't know what traps or defenses might still be active." The team nodded. They had all done this kind of work before, though never on a ship so large or so old. The airlock door opened and a narrow bridge extended from the Eternal Scholar to what looked like an emergency entrance on the side of the artifact. The team crossed one by one, their magnetic boots keeping them from floating away in the zero gravity. Do-hyun went first, carrying scanning equipment. He stopped at the large metal door blocking their entrance. "There appears to be a manual override," he said, pointing to a recessed panel, "but I can't be certain how it works." Taeho joined him, studying the panel. It had a simple design, a handle that probably needed to be turned. He gripped it carefully and pulled. Nothing happened. Then he tried turning it clockwise. With a grinding sound that they felt through their boots rather than heard in the vacuum of space, the handle moved. The door slid open, revealing a small chamber beyond, an airlock on the ancient ship itself. "It still works," Jiwoo said, her voice filled with wonder. "After all this time, the basic systems still function." The team entered the airlock, and Do-hyun found a similar panel inside. When he turned it, the outer door closed, and they heard a hissing sound as air filled the chamber. "The ship is pressurizing the room," Tae-ho said, unable to hide his excitement. "This goes beyond simple mechanical systems. The environmental controls are still partially operational." Do-hyun checked his instruments. "The air being pumped in isn't suitable for our biology. Oxygen levels are too high, and there are trace elements our systems can't identify. Keep your suits sealed." When the pressure equalized, the inner door opened automatically, revealing a dark corridor. The team turned on their lights, sending beams cutting through the darkness. The corridor was wide enough for 3 of them to walk side by side. The walls were made of a dark metal with strange markings etched into them at regular intervals. "These could be a written language," Minji said, recording the symbols with her camera. "Or maybe just identification markers for different sections of the ship." They moved deeper into the vessel, documenting everything they saw. The corridors occasionally branched, forming a complex network. Tae-ho made sure they marked their path to avoid getting lost. After 20 minutes of careful exploration, they found something interesting. A large room filled with what looked like sleeping pods, most of them empty but a few sealed shut. Could these have been used for the crew? Ji-woo wondered, running her scanner over one of the sealed pods. "I'm getting strange readings from inside. Complex organic compounds, but nothing alive." "They might have been stasis chambers," Do-hyun suggested, "for long journeys between stars." Tae-ho felt a chill run through him despite his suit's temperature controls. "Let's continue. I want to find the command center." It took another hour of searching before they found it. A massive circular room with dozens of control stations, arranged in concentric rings, all facing a central platform with a single large chair. "This must be where they controlled the ship," Tae-ho said, moving toward the central chair. "The captain's position, probably." The room was completely dark and silent, yet Tae-ho felt something strange, a sense that they were not alone. He dismissed it as his imagination working overtime. After all, the builders of this ship had been dead for thousands of years. "Look at these control panels," Ji-woo said, shining her light on one of the stations. "They're designed for hands with 5 fingers, just like ours." Tae-ho approached one of the panels, fascinated by its design. Without thinking, he reached out and touched its surface. The moment his gloved hand made contact, the panel lit up with a soft blue glow. Then, like a wave, lights began to activate throughout the room. One by one, the control stations came alive, displays flickering with information in an unknown language. The team froze in shock and wonder. A deep humming sound began to vibrate through the floor. The lights grew brighter, and previously invisible, doors around the room slid open. From hidden speakers, a computerized voice spoke in an unknown language. "What's happening?" Minji asked, her voice trembling. Before anyone could answer, red warning lights began to flash. The computerized voice spoke again, its tone now clearly indicating some kind of alert. "I think," Tae-ho said slowly, "we should get back to our ship." But it was too late. With a loud clang, all the doors leading out of the command center slammed shut, trapping them inside. The ancient warship was awake, and it wasn't happy about the intruders on board. Red lights flashed throughout the command center. The alien research team huddled together as the ship around them came to life. What they had thought was an ancient dead relic was now humming with energy. "Everyone stay calm," Tae-ho said, though his own hearts were beating rapidly. "Do-hyun, can you figure out what's happening?" The engineer was already at one of the glowing control panels, his scanner hovering over the strange symbols that flowed across the screen. "The ship is running. Some kind of security program," Do-hyun said. "These readings show power levels rising all over the vessel. Systems are turning on that have been dormant for who knows how long." Ji-woo checked her own instruments. "The atmosphere in this room is changing. Oxygen levels are increasing and several new gases are being added. Is it trying to poison us?" Minji asked, her pink skin turning pale with fear. "I don't think so," Ji-woo replied. "It seems to be adjusting to what it thinks are the needs of the ship's original crew." Hyunwoo, the communications specialist, had been quiet until now. "I'm picking up signals," he announced. The ship is broadcasting on multiple frequencies. I think it's sending out some kind of message. Can you understand it? Tai-ho asked. No, but I can tell it's repeating the same pattern over and over. Tai-ho moved carefully around the command center, studying the newly activated screens and controls. Despite the danger of their situation, the scientist in him was fascinated. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see an ancient ship actually functioning. Look at this, he called to the others, pointing at a large screen that had appeared. On one wall, it showed a three-dimensional map of the ship. A flashing red dot indicated their location in the command center, but there was another dot on the map, a blue one, moving through a section of the ship they hadn't explored yet. What is that? Jiwoo asked, joining him. I don't know, Tai-ho admitted, but it's moving purposefully like it knows where it's going. Could it be some kind of automated defense robot? Do-hyun suggested. Before anyone could answer, the doors to the command center slid open. The team turned to see if their escape route had been cleared, but it wasn't freedom waiting for them. A figure stood in the doorway. It was tall and bipedal, with 2 arms and a head, similar in basic shape to many species in the Galactic Preservation Society. But this was no alien they had ever encountered before. The being wore a dark, fitted uniform with colored markings on the chest and shoulders. Its skin was a pale tan color, and it had patches of dark hair on its head. Most shocking was that it wore no breathing apparatus despite the unfamiliar atmosphere. For a long moment, nobody moved. The alien team stared at the strange being, and it stared back at them with eyes that showed clear intelligence. Then the being spoke. The sounds it made were unlike any language they knew. The team's translation devices tried to process the speech but failed. It must be one of the ship's original species, Minji whispered. But how is that possible? They should have been extinct for thousands of years. The being spoke again, this time more slowly. It pointed to itself and said a word clearly. Junho. I think it's telling us its name, Tai-ho said. He pointed to himself and said, Tai-ho. The being, Junho, nodded. It then gestured toward the others, clearly asking for their names too. One by one, the team members introduced themselves. Junho seemed to be trying to memorize each name, repeating them carefully. Next, Junho touched a device on his wrist. A small hologram appeared above it, showing symbols that matched those on the ship's screens. The being touched some of the symbols, and suddenly a voice came from speakers around the room. Language analysis in progress. Please continue verbal communication. The team looked at each other in surprise. The voice had spoken in perfect standard galactic, the common language of the Preservation Society. It's using our communications to build a translation program, Hyun-woo realized. The technology is incredible. Junho spoke again, and this time the speakers translated his words. I am Lieutenant Commander Junho Han of the United Nations stellar ship Thunderchild. You are aboard a military vessel of the Earth Alliance. Identify yourselves and explain your presence. Tai-ho stepped forward. I am head archaeologist Tae-ho Kim of the Galactic Preservation Society. We believe this ship to be an ancient artifact, abandoned for at least 50,000 years. We meant no trespass or harm. Junho's expression changed, showing what might have been confusion. 50,000 years? That is incorrect. The Thunderchild was launched 300 years ago on a long-range exploration mission. The aliens looked at each other, in shock. Their dating methods were highly accurate. How could they have been so wrong? Where are the rest of your crew? Jiwoo asked. Junho's face showed a new emotion, one that was hard to read. I was the commanding officer of a skeleton crew of 15. We encountered a spatial anomaly that damaged our main systems. The crew entered cryogenic sleep while the ship's AI conducted repairs. I should not be the only one awake. He touched his wrist device again and spoke to it in his own language. The alien team watched as his expression grew more serious. I must check the cryo chambers, Junho finally said. Your presence activated the ship's security protocols and initiated the revival process. But something is wrong. Only my pod responded. We saw rooms with pods earlier, Tai-ho offered. Most were empty, but some were sealed. Junho nodded. I will need to examine them. You will come with me. I cannot allow unknown aliens to remain unsupervised on a military vessel. The team had little choice but to follow as Junho led them out of the command center. As they walked through the corridors, more lights activated automatically. Systems that had been dormant were now running, the ship coming back to full power around them. Your species, humans, did you call them? Minji asked as they walked. We have no record of your kind in our databases. That is concerning, Junho replied. The Earth Alliance had established diplomatic relations with 11 non-human species before I entered cryosleep. None resembled your physiology. They reached the cryo chamber the team had discovered earlier. Junho went straight to a control panel and activated it, bringing up displays showing the status of each pod. His face grew pale as he read the information. What is it? Taiho asked, sensing the being's distress. The pods malfunctioned 80 years after we entered cryosleep, Junho said, his voice flat. The ship's AI diverted all remaining power to my pod as the commanding officer. The others. He didn't need to finish. The aliens understood. Junho was the last surviving member of his crew. How long have I been asleep? Junho asked. Based on our calendar, Doyun calculated, approximately 278 of your Earth years. Junho stood silently for a long moment. Then he straightened his shoulders and turned to face them. I need to know everything about this galaxy I've woken up in, he said. And you need to contact your ship. I'm sure they're growing concerned about your safety. Taiho nodded. Our vessel, the Eternal Scholar, is still docked with yours, but our communications have been blocked since your ship activated. I will restore your ability to communicate, Junho said. But first I must understand why the Thunderchild registered your presence as a potential threat. What exactly did you touch in the command center? Taiho explained how simply touching one of the control panels had awakened the ship. Junho's lips curved slightly upward. You're lucky. You activated the emergency restart protocol. If you had touched the wrong panel, the ship might have considered you hostile intruders rather than merely unauthorized visitors. The aliens looked at each other nervously. What happens to hostile intruders? Jiwoo asked. Junho's expression was unreadable. The Thunderchild is a warship. I think it's better you didn't find out. Junho led the alien research team back to the command center. With each step, more of the ship came alive around them. Lights brightened in the corridors, and hidden panels slid open to reveal equipment and supplies. Your ship is amazing, Doyun said, his engineering background making him appreciate the technology. The self-repair systems must be incredibly advanced to keep everything functional after so long. Junho nodded. The Thunderchild was one of Earth's finest vessels. It was built to survive alone in deep space for decades if needed. When they reached the command center, Junho went straight to the captain's chair in the center of the room. He placed his hand on a scanner beside the chair, and the entire room lit up with new displays and holographic projections. Full command authorization restored, announced the ship's computer in both the human language and the alien standard galactic. Computer, allow communication with the vessel docked at Emergency Airlock 7, Junho ordered. Communication. Channels open, the computer replied. Hyunwoo immediately contacted the Eternal Scholar. This is Specialist Song. Can you hear me, Captain Yuna? A female voice answered, filled with relief. We hear you, Hyunwoo. We've been trying to reach you for hours. What's happening in there? The situation is complicated, Hyunwoo replied, looking at Junho. The artifact is actually an operational vessel belonging to a species called humans. We've made first contact with one of them, the ship's commander. There was a long silence from the other end. Did you say the ship is operational? Captain Yuna finally asked, her voice tense. Yes, and it's only about 300 years old, not 50,000 as we thought. The commander's name is Junho Han. He's been in something called cryosleep all this time. Junho stepped forward. May I speak with your captain? Hyunwoo nodded and adjusted the communication settings. This is Lieutenant Commander Junho Han of the Earth Alliance. I assure you that your research team is safe. There has been a misunderstanding, but no harm has been done. I see? Captain Yuna replied cautiously. Commander Han, this is unexpected. Our scans indicated your vessel was ancient and abandoned. Your scans were partly correct, Junho said. The Thunderchild has been drifting for nearly 300 years, running on minimal power, but it was never abandoned. While they talked, Junho was checking the ship's systems through the command console. His fingers moved quickly over the controls, bringing up status reports and diagnostics. Taiho watched him with fascination. This human was unlike any species they had encountered. Physically, he wasn't very impressive. No extra limbs, no obvious natural weapons, no special abilities they could see. Yet he handled the complex technology of the massive warship with ease. What exactly is the Earth Alliance? Taiho asked. Junho looked up from the console. It was, or I suppose still is, a union of human colonies spread across 27 star systems. Earth is our homeworld. 27 systems? Jiwoo said in surprise. That would make humans one of the larger political entities in this region of the galaxy. Junho raised an eyebrow. How many species are part of your galactic preservation society? 42 at last count, Taiho replied. We're an organization dedicated to finding and protecting the remains of extinct civilizations. We thought your ship was one such relic. And yet humans are not among the species you know, Junho said thoughtfully. That is concerning. He turned back to the console and brought up a star map. The three-dimensional projection filled the center of the room, showing thousands of stars with various markings and boundaries. Computer, show the boundaries of Earth Alliance territory as of mission launch date, Junho ordered. A large section of the map was highlighted in blue. Now overlay current scan data of civilization markers in the same region. The computer processed the request and the map changed. Nearly all the blue region was now marked in different colors, with symbols Taiho didn't recognize. Junho stared at the map, his face showing no emotion, but his hands tightened into fists at his sides. They're gone, he said quietly. All the human colonies, even Earth itself, show no signs of our technology or communication networks. The alien team looked at each other uncomfortably. There could be many explanations, Minji suggested gently. Perhaps humans developed new technology that doesn't match what your ship is scanning for, or they might have relocated to a different region of space. Junho nodded but didn't seem convinced. Computer, run full diagnostic on long-range sensors and update stellar positioning. Processing, the computer replied. Alert, significant, stellar drift detected. Recalibrating star maps based on current astronomical data. The map shifted subtly, stars moving slightly as the computer adjusted their positions based on 278 years of movement. What happened while I slept? Junho whispered, more to himself than to the aliens. Taiho stepped forward. Commander Han, our society has extensive historical records. If something happened to your people, we might find information about it. Junho looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. I would appreciate that. He turned to another console and began typing commands. I'm giving your ship access to the Thunderchild's historical and cultural database. Perhaps comparing our records will help us understand what happened. On the Eternal Scholar, Captain Yuna watched as massive amounts of data began flowing into their computers. The human is sharing their knowledge with us, she told her crew. This is an unprecedented opportunity. Back on the Thunderchild, Junho continued checking the ship's systems. The main engines are operational but need time to reach full power, he reported. Weapon systems are at 80% capacity. Life support is fully functional in 60% of the ship. Weapons? Do-hyun asked nervously. Why are you checking those? Standard procedure, Junho replied. This is a military vessel in unknown territory. I need to know our defensive capabilities. He brought up a new display showing the outside of the ship. The Eternal Scholar looked tiny next to the massive Thunderchild. Your ship is very small, Junho observed. It's a research vessel, not a warship, Taiho explained. Most ships in the Preservation Society fleet are about that size. Junho nodded. And what about military vessels in your society? How do they compare to the Thunderchild? The alien team exchanged glances. The society doesn't maintain a military fleet, Jiwoo said. We have security ships to protect our research vessels. but nothing designed specifically for war. I see, Junho said. His expression remained neutral, but something in his eyes changed. And the other species in your galaxy? Do they have warships? Some do, Taiho admitted. The Galactic Council has a peacekeeping force with armed vessels, but open warfare between species is rare in our region of space. Most conflicts are resolved through diplomacy. Junho seemed to consider this. Then he made a decision. I need to know more about this galaxy I've awakened in, he said. With your permission, I would like to travel with your team back to your home base. The Thunderchild can follow under its own power. Taiho hesitated. The idea of bringing this unknown human and his massive warship back to Society headquarters was concerning. Yet the opportunity to learn about an entirely new species was too valuable to pass up. I will need to consult with my superiors, Taiho said. But I believe they will agree. Junho nodded. While you do that, I must attend to some personal matters. My crew may be gone, but they deserve proper respect. The alien team understood. They had seen the status of the cryopods. Junho needed time to mourn his lost comrades. We'll return to our ship and make the arrangements, Taiho said. Will you be all right alone? Junho's lips curved in a small smile. I have the Thunderchild, I'm not alone. As the alien team prepared to return to the Eternal Scholar, Minji approached Junho. I'm sorry about your crew, she said, and about your civilization. I hope we can help you find answers. Junho nodded. Thank you. I hope so too. After the aliens left, Junho returned to the captain's chair. He sat down and looked around the empty command center. Computer, he said, play ship's log. Final entry before cryosleep. A hologram appeared before him, showing Junho himself, 278 years younger but with the same determined expression. Captain's log. Final entry before cryosleep, the recorded Junho said. We've encountered an anomaly that has severely damaged our propulsion and communication systems. Repairs are underway but will take time. The crew will enter cryosleep to conserve resources. The ship's AI will monitor our condition and wake us when repairs are complete, or if we reach an Alliance outpost. The recording paused, then continued, in a lower voice. Personal note. Something about this anomaly feels deliberate, not natural. If my suspicions are correct, the Thunderchild may have been targeted. In case I don't wake up, I'm leaving this warning for whoever finds this ship. Trust no one until you know their intentions. The hologram faded, leaving Junho alone with his thoughts and a warship ready to roar back to life. 3 days passed as both ships prepared for the journey to the Galactic Preservation Society headquarters. The Eternal Scholar remained docked with the Thunderchild, allowing the research team to move between the vessels. Taiho spent most of his time with Junho learning about humans and their history. They sat in what Junho called the officer's mess, a room where the ship's leaders once ate their meals together. Your species accomplished so much in such a short time, Taiho said, looking at the historical records displayed on a screen. From your first primitive aircraft to interstellar travel in less than 300 years. Junho nodded. Humans adapt quickly. We had to. Earth was not always kind to us. That might explain why we found no records of humans in our database, Taiho suggested. Perhaps your people changed so much that we wouldn't recognize them now. Junho didn't look convinced. The Earth Alliance had contact with 11 non-human species before my mission, yet none of them seemed to exist in your records either. This troubled both of them. How could an alliance spanning 27 star systems simply vanish without any trace in the historical record? On the bridge of the Thunderchild, Do-hyun worked with Junho to prepare the massive ship for travel. The engineer was amazed by the human vessel's technology. Your engines use principles we've only theorized about, Do-hyun said as they checked the propulsion systems. The power output is far beyond anything in our fleet. The Thunderchild was designed for long-range exploration and, if necessary, combat, Junho explained. It needed to be fast and powerful. Combat against whom? Do-hyun asked cautiously. Junho paused before answering. We weren't at war when I entered cryosleep, but humanity had faced threats before. We believed in being prepared. In another part of the ship, Minji studied the cultural database Junho had shared. She was particularly interested in human art and music. Your species created such beautiful things, she told Junho when he visited her. These images and sounds, they speak of a people who felt emotions deeply. Junho smiled, the most genuine expression the aliens had seen from him. Music was very important to us. It crossed all boundaries between human cultures. He touched a control and soft music filled the room. A melody played on string instruments that rose and fell like ocean waves. This was composed almost 500 years before my time, Junho said. Yet it still moved us centuries later. Minji's pink skin flushed darker as she listened. It's beautiful. Meanwhile, Captain Yuna had contacted Society headquarters. The news of a living human and a fully operational warship had caused great excitement and some concern. The Council is sending a diplomatic team to meet us halfway, she told Taeho over a secure channel. They want to welcome Commander Han officially. How did they react to the ship's capabilities? Taeho asked. Yuna hesitated. Some Council members expressed concerns about bringing such a powerful warship to a heavily populated area. Others are more interested in the technology and historical knowledge. And what did you tell them about Junho himself? That he seems honorable and has treated us with respect, Yuna replied. But that he is also clearly a military officer assessing potential threats and advantages. Taeho nodded. A fair assessment. Keep me informed of any new developments. On Amak, the seventh day, both ships were ready to depart. The Eternal Scholar undocked from the Thunderchild and moved to a safe distance. Junho stood alone on the bridge of his massive vessel. The ship had been designed for a crew of hundreds, but now, he was its only living occupant. Computer, initiate main engine startup sequence, he ordered. Main engine starting, the computer replied. All systems nominal. Deep within the Thunderchild, powerful engines that had been dormant for centuries roared to life. The huge ship trembled slightly as energy flowed through its systems. On the Eternal Scholar, the alien crew watched in awe as the ancient artifact they had discovered began to move under its own power. Blue energy glowed from its engine ports and light sparkled along its hull as weapon systems and sensors activated. It's magnificent, Jiwoo whispered. Captain Yuna nodded in agreement, though her expression showed concern as well as admiration. Let's hope the Council knows how to handle this situation diplomatically. The two ships began their journey toward the Society headquarters. The Eternal Scholar led the way, with the much larger Thunderchild following at a respectful distance. Despite the Thunderchild's size, it moved with surprising grace. Junho had reduced power to match the smaller ship's speed, though Taeho suspected the human vessel could have traveled much faster if needed. 2 days into their journey, the ships entered a region of space known as the Kinar Nebula. It was a beautiful area filled with colorful gases and newly forming stars, but also dangerous due to strong radiation and unpredictable energy discharges. We should go around the nebula, Captain Yuna suggested during her daily communication with Junho. It will add a day to our journey, but it's safer. My sensors show the radiation levels are within Thunderchild's tolerance, Junho replied, but I will follow your lead. As the ships changed course to skirt the edge of the nebula, Hyunwoo detected something unusual. Captain, I'm picking up energy signatures ahead, he reported. They don't match any known natural phenomena. Yuna frowned. Can you identify them? No, but they're moving in a pattern that suggests artificial sources. Yuna contacted the Thunderchild immediately. Commander Han, we're detecting unusual energy signatures. Could your sensors provide more detail? One moment, Junho replied. There was a pause, then his voice returned, now tense. My systems identify them as weapon signatures. 7 vessels are hiding in the nebula gases ahead of us. Taeho felt his heart beat faster. Pirates? This region is supposed to be safe. Whoever they are, they're positioning themselves to block our path, Junho said. I recommend you fall back behind the Thunderchild. Captain Yuna didn't argue. The Eternal Scholar reduced speed, allowing the massive warship to move ahead of them. Junho's voice came over the communication channel again. I'm activating full defensive systems. Stay close to my ship's stern. You'll be protected by our shields. On the Thunderchild's bridge, Junho watched the tactical display with narrowed eyes. The 7 ships were now moving into an attack formation. They were small compared to his vessel, but fast and maneuverable. Computer, identify ship. Design if possible, he ordered. Design matches no known configuration in database, the computer replied. However, weapon signatures suggest technology comparable to Earth Alliance level circa mission launch date. Junho nodded. That was concerning. Few species had weapons that could threaten a ship like the Thunderchild. He opened a channel to broadcast on all frequencies. Attention unknown vessels. This is Lieutenant Commander Junho Han of the Earth Alliance ship Thunderchild. State your intentions. There was no response, but the ships continued to approach. They're powering up weapons, Do-hyun reported from his station on the Thunderchild, where he had been helping Junho with the engines. Junho's expression hardened. Computer, bring all defensive systems to full power. Charge main weapons, but do not target. The Thunderchild hummed as its ancient but powerful weapon systems activated. Panels along its hull slid open, revealing energy cannons and missile launchers that had been hidden beneath its smooth exterior. On the Eternal Scholar, the alien crew watched in amazement as the ancient artifact transformed before their eyes into a fully armed warship. By the stars, Captain Yuna whispered. It's beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The unknown ship suddenly accelerated, moving in perfect formation toward the 2 vessels. They're attacking, Hyunwoo shouted. Junho's voice came over the communication channel, calm but firm. Brace for potential impact. I will handle this. The human warship surged forward, its massive bulk placing itself directly between the attackers and the Eternal Scholar. The unknown vessels fired first, energy beams streaking through space toward the Thunderchild. What happened next would change the galaxy forever. The enemy ships fired their weapons. Bright beams of energy shot through space toward the Thunderchild. The alien crew on the Eternal Scholar held their breath, certain they were about to witness the destruction of the ancient vessel. But the Thunderchild did not explode. Instead, a shimmering blue field appeared around the massive warship, absorbing the enemy fire with ease. Shields holding at 98%, the ship's computer reported to Junho. No damage detected. Junho nodded, his face calm as he assessed the tactical display. These attackers were dangerous, but they had clearly underestimated his ship's capabilities. Computer, analyze attack pattern and identify weaknesses, he ordered. Analysis complete. Enemy vessels show coordinated movement suggesting a hive mind tactical system. Central command ship located at coordinates 227-8419. Junho studied the display. One ship in the center of the enemy formation was slightly larger than the others. That would be his target. Charge main forward cannon, he commanded. Target the lead vessel's propulsion systems only. The front of the Thunderchild began to glow as energy gathered in its primary weapon. The ship hummed with power, the sound growing louder as the cannon reached full charge. On the Eternal Scholar, Taeho and his crew watched in awe. The energy readings are off the scale, Do-hyun reported, his antennae twitching with excitement and fear. I've never seen a weapon this powerful. Captain Yuna's face was grim. Now we know why his people called it a warship. The enemy vessels fired again, this time from multiple directions. The Thunderchild's shields flickered but held firm. Shields at 92%, the computer reported. Main cannon charged and ready. Fire, Junho ordered. A brilliant beam of blue-white energy shot from the front of the human warship. It moved faster than the eye could follow, striking the lead enemy vessel with pinpoint accuracy. The target ship's engines exploded, leaving it drifting helplessly in space. Target disabled, the computer confirmed. Remaining enemy vessels are adjusting formation. The 6 remaining ships spread out trying to surround the Thunderchild. Their movements were less coordinated now, suggesting the loss of their leader had disrupted their tactical system. Prepare secondary weapons, Junho said. Target propulsion and weapon systems only. I want them disabled, not destroyed. Multiple, smaller weapons along the Thunderchild's hull locked onto the attacking ships. With precision that stunned the watching aliens, the human warship fired a series of short, controlled bursts. 4 more enemy vessels lost power, their engines or weapons destroyed by the carefully aimed shots. The remaining 2 ships suddenly broke off their attack and fled, disappearing into the colorful gases of the nebula. Silence fell on both bridges as the brief but intense battle ended. 5 enemy ships floated powerless in space, their crews presumably still alive but unable to continue fighting. "Computer scan for life signs on the disabled vessels," Junho ordered. Life signs detected, approximately 120 individuals across all 5 ships. Junho opened a communication channel to the Eternal Scholar. "Captain Yuna, are you familiar with these attackers?" Yuna's voice was shaky when she replied. "No, Commander. Their ship design matches nothing in our records. Pirates in this region usually use converted transport ships, not military vessels like these. They were specifically waiting to ambush us," Junho pointed out. "This wasn't a random attack." "But how would anyone know we were coming this way?" Taiho asked. "We only decided on this route a few days ago." Junho's expression hardened. "Someone must have leaked information about our discovery, about me." Before anyone could respond to this troubling suggestion, one of the disabled enemy ships began broadcasting a signal. "They're hailing us," Hyunwoo reported. "Put it through, Captain," Yuna ordered. A harsh voice spoke in a language none of the aliens recognized. But Junho's face showed shock as he listened. "I understand them," he said quietly. "They're speaking a dialect of an Earth language called Russian." "How is that possible?" Taiho asked, his 4 eyes wide with surprise. Junho didn't answer immediately. Instead, he responded to the hail in the same language. The conversation was brief and tense. When it ended, Junho switched back to the aliens' language. "Their commander says they are the guardians of human legacy. They claim they were sent to capture me and destroy the Thunderchild." "Human legacy?" Minji repeated. "Then, there are other humans in this galaxy?" "So it would seem," Junho said. "But not as I remember them. This group claims to be descendants of a colony that broke away from the Earth Alliance before my mission. They speak of Earth and the other colonies as if they're legends, not real places." Taiho moved closer to the communication screen. "What happened to Earth, Commander Han? Did they tell you?" Junho's face was pale. "They say Earth was destroyed in a war against an enemy called the Void Collective. The Alliance fought for decades but eventually fell. Only a few remote colonies survived, and they've been in hiding ever since, preserving what they could of human culture and technology." The aliens looked at each other in shock. This explained why they had no records of humans in their historical database. The species had nearly been wiped out, with the survivors going into hiding. "How long ago did this happen?" Jiwoo asked. "According to them, about 200 years ago," Junho replied. "Not long after the Thunderchild disappeared." This news clearly affected Junho deeply. He had awakened to find not only his crew dead, but his entire civilization nearly extinct. Yet his expression remained controlled, his posture straight and proud. "What will you do with them?" Captain Yuna asked, nodding toward the disabled ships. "I've told them I will allow one ship to repair itself and depart to carry a message," Junho said. "I want to speak with their leaders. If humans still exist in this galaxy, I need to find them." "And the Thunderchild?" Taiho asked. "Will you still come with us to Society headquarters?" Junho nodded. "Yes, I gave my word and I will keep it. Besides, I need allies in this new galaxy and your society seems honorable. But after that I must search for my people." The journey resumed, now with a small fleet of captured ships being towed by the Thunderchild. Word of the incident spread quickly through subspace communications. By the time they reached the rendezvous point with the Galactic Council's diplomatic vessel, 6 more ships were waiting for them. "It seems news of your, capabilities has generated significant interest," Taiho observed as they approached the gathering of ships. Junho's lips curved in a small smile. "So I see." The largest of the waiting vessels hailed them. A dignified alien with golden scales appeared on the screen. Commander Han, I am High Counselor Minseo Kang of the Galactic Preservation Society. On behalf of the Council, I welcome you to our community of species. Junho bowed slightly, a human gesture of respect. Thank you, High Counselor. I look forward to establishing diplomatic relations between your society and what remains of humanity. We are most interested in learning about your people, Kang said, especially after hearing reports of your ship's impressive demonstration. I will be happy to share our knowledge, Junho replied, but I must also ask for your help in locating other human survivors. The High Counselor nodded. Of course. The Society's purpose is to preserve the knowledge and heritage of all species. We would be honored to help restore humanity's place in the galaxy. As the diplomatic discussions continued, Taeho stood beside Junho on the bridge of the Thunderchild. The archaeologist looked around at the magnificent warship that he had once thought was merely an ancient artifact. When we found your ship, Taeho said, we believed we were recovering a relic of a long-dead civilization. Instead, we may have helped restart a new chapter in human history. Junho looked out at the stars visible through the bridge's viewing port. Somewhere out there, the remnants of his people were hiding, preserving what they could of Earth's legacy. The Thunderchild was built to explore and to protect, he said quietly. It seems it will serve both purposes again. The massive engines hummed with power, ready to carry humanity's last warship and its sole commander into a new future. The artifact had not just roared to life, it had roared back into history.